So I thought my friends might be interested in knowing that the panic is already setting in. You know, I was all, happy that I wouldn't be rushed, that I could find a good place and not be rushed, etc., etc., etc. He called his roommate, giving him notice, and it's already mid-month here, saying, be out by the end of June. And his landlord said something like, I'd really like you out sooner. And then apparently his landlord was saying stuff like, you didn't even ask me if you could have a roommate. My roommate told me that's bullshit. He did. He told him that he was getting a roommate. He had a roommate before. And the bottom line is this place costs a shitload. He can't afford it on his own. I don't know what this landlord's, what's wrong with him. I thought this was like a sure thing. And even when I indicated that, I have to move out because I don't trust his dog around Omar, I thought I'd have plenty of time to find a place. Now I'm under the wire. Legally, he's a tenant at will, and his I said, legally he has to give you 30 days. He can't, But but the landlord wants us out, I said to my roommate, I'm like, you know what, 2 weeks goes by fast. I highly doubt I'm going to be able to find a new place in just 2 weeks. It's not enough time. I would like to, because it's easier moving in just with somebody at the beginning of the month, and you know what I mean? I'm panicking. I'm already panicking because your fart hit, Omar. You're farting. I feed you really good food, but it gives you gas. Omar eats Blue Wilderness. Blue gets 5 stars in the dog food advisor. Blue is really good food. Expensive, but it's okay. So is my organic food. The last thing, it wouldn't have mattered though. That's kind of comforting. I don't know. His landlord also could be one of those people who just wants to beat you to the punch, because he calls his landlord today and said to the judge, and his landlord says, oh, I was just getting ready to call you and tell you I want you out. It's just, I said to my roommate, I'm like, I didn't do anything, His landlord even said, technically I could kick her out right now. No, you couldn't. I've been living here over 3 months. I've been paying rent. You can't kick me out legally. If he tries to, even by the end of the month, I'll turn into a bitch. I won't leave. He'll have to get me evicted by the court. I've been paying rent for over 3 months. He can't. But the fact that he even said that to my roommate, I'm like, what did I do? I made noise sometimes during the day, Sometimes I would play music loud during the day, but mostly not. Mostly I didn't do anything, A couple times I was singing really loud to my MP3 player. I came up from walking Omar, I was in a really good mood. Instead of playing music loud, I just listened to my music blasted in my ear and was singing out loud to my MP3 player, but not for hours, you know. I couldn't do that for hours. I have other shit I have to do, plus, you know, just for a few songs. So what? It was middle of the daytime. I never made any noise at night. And I asked my roommate, did he say anything bad about me? He's like, no, he didn't say anything, but he asked if I did not a credit, he's like, did you do a background check on her? You didn't even ask me if you could have her. And he's like, you didn't even tell me you were getting a roommate. And my roommate said, yeah, I did. He told him, he just forgot. And he knows he needed to get a roommate because he actually had to tell his landlord, you know, I either have to leave or I need to pay you a little less rent. You have to, you know, I can't afford it, you know. But I found out now he's going to have to pay it anyway, but not, you know, it's not a rush. But, you know, I thought the guy was super cool. And, I mean, who knows? But he had told me when we were on the way to Market Basket, he was up front with me, you know, he's like, I think something's up. My landlord is not his usual self. I think he wants me out of here, you know. And I'm like, oh, maybe you're just being paranoid. This was before everything happened with the dog, but he probably did want him out, and he just didn't have the courage to say it. I mean, I don't like that. I'm like, he's known you for all these years. He should be up front, you know. But in the end, was I perfect? No. Did I leave Omar in that cage sometimes and you know, and he would scream? Yeah. But not all the time. Nothing was all the time. You know what I mean? It wasn't, I don't know. I told you he was upset he got complaints about the dog barking, and I said to my roommate, you know, the thing with the dog barking, I asked your permission. I could have left the dog in here all day long. I felt bad for him. You told me it was no big deal. He's like, yeah, I didn't think it was. His landlord has changed, you know. And he said he really believed his landlord was using underhanded tactics, like he didn't want to just be up front with them, so when he wanted him out of here, so he can get family members in here, so he tried to drive him out. But he still didn't admit the truth. That's what gets me. He didn't say, yeah, I wanted you out so I can get my family members in there. He just said, he jumped on it. He's like, yeah, I was going to call you and have you out. And to me, I'm like thinking, like, what? Why? Why? You know? I don't know. All I know is that you guys know this, my friends know this. It's really hard to, I have a dog, and I have the stigma of being on psych disability. And people, I mean, if they know how healthy I am, then they know that the psych disability has to be for mental reasons and not physical reasons, you know what I mean? I have a guaranteed income, but, you know, because I said, you know, it's not, 2 weeks goes by fast. I highly doubt I'm going to be able to find a place that fast, you know. But he can go stay with his girlfriend, he and Bones, you know. I said, you know, you can go stay with your girlfriend, I can't. I thought this was a sure thing. I'm panicking. I'm panicking because I wasn't finding a place before, you know. Hi, Chiquita Banana. So cute. McDonald said we picked you out of a perfect patch of pugs. And in the end, you can sit here and rack your brain. Like, I think, okay, what might have made the landlord not like me? Well, because I wasn't completely quiet all the time, or just because even though he's getting a shitload of money in rent, he doesn't like my roommate having someone that stays here all the time, using electricity or heat or what, you know, he just was, I called him a prick. I said to my roommate, like, he's a prick. He actually said that to you. He said, you know, technically I could kick her out right now. No, you can't. No, you can't. No, you can't. After 1 month, I told my roommate, I don't like this shit. I said, no, he couldn't. Life doesn't work that way. The law, the rental agreement, everything. I'm looking on the internet, even a tenant at will. If you refuse to leave, you become a tenant at sufferance or something, and then you're there against your landlord's will, but he has to get a court order to have you evicted or something. He can't just throw you out on the street. And I've been living here over 3 months and paying rent, and I live here. He can't just throw me out. You know what I mean? I've been living here for 3 months. I have proof. I paid my roommate in money orders. I have proof that I've paid rent. I have mail coming here and this address. You know what I mean? He can't just throw me out. And if he tried, I would refuse to go. And technically, he's supposed to go get something in writing. You know? He's supposed to go get something in writing that, you know, whatnot. That we have 30 days. But how sick. My roommate's lived here for years, and he's gonna, say to him, he says, I'll be out by the end of June. He's like, you know, I'd like, can you, something, what do you think? I'd like you out sooner, or can you please, I want you out sooner, or can you make it sooner, whatever he fucking said makes me ill. It makes me ill, because it's already the middle, you know. In the end, I don't care. I told my roommate, I gave him my word. I said, you have my word, I will do my very best to find a place by the end of the month, but 2 weeks goes by very, very fast. 2 weeks goes by so fast, you know, and I can only pay a certain amount, which is very low, like the most like $650, and that includes everything. I have a dog, and I don't work. And my roommate says, well, I don't see why people would even care about that, because you have a guaranteed income. It doesn't matter. It's a stigma. It's a fucking stigma. I even said in regards to this landlord, I'm like, you know, he's asking, did you do a background check on her? I'm like, well, he knows you told him I was on disability, but he can see me doing power walking and walking around and walking home and all that, so he knows it's not physical. So maybe he thinks I'm crazy, you know. They live right next door. It's possible, even though I have my door closed, when I've gotten upset here on the phone, talking with Cheryl and whatnot, they've heard me. But you know what? All kinds of things happen when people live. You know what I mean? People live. People have fights with people over the phone. People have fights with their roommates. I mean, we're not robots. So, I don't know. All I know is I'm panicking. I wasn't panicked when I thought I had to the end of June. I know my roommate. I told him. I told him, like, you know, I can't. But I also said he can't legally throw me out, and he has to give us 30 days. You know? And that would take us to the middle. And from what I'm reading, even that, he can't even force you to leave. You become a tenant, sufferance. I wouldn't want it to come to that. I wouldn't want to do anything, you know. Because apparently he said to my roommate, he's like, you're not going to screw me over, are you? And he's like, no, I wouldn't do that. You've been good to me, you know, up till now, when you're treating me like a, is what he's thinking, but. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. The way he talked about his roommate and his landlord in the beginning, like he was so wonderful and he's been so good to him and he's so laid back and this, that, whatever. I don't know. Bones is coming back. Because I gave my roommate that email. I said, you know, I didn't want you to I neither ever expected you or wanted you to. I neither expected you or wanted you to remove Bones from his home. Like, if I leave for the day, I'll do something with Omar, you know. I'll keep Omar in here and put him in the cage or something. Yeah, he's gonna scream. He doesn't scream constantly. He calms down. It's not gonna be all the time. Most of the time I'm here, you know. I do want to go see that movie, The Other Woman, you know. I deserve to, you know. I can't just stay here all the time with Omar. I need some kind of break sometimes. And, but mostly I'll be here. And I'm glad that Bones is coming back. It made me sad to think I was never going to see him again. And he just can't sit on the couch with me and Omar, that's all. As long as I'm around, it's fine. If I'm watching him play, you know, I don't let it get too out of hand. And now I know he can't sit on the couch with me and Omar. He's not going to do it, period, you know. I know I didn't do anything wrong. Was I noisy sometimes during the day? Yeah. People have to live, you know. People don't have to be quiet as a mouse when they're paying rent someplace. Especially here, when he's paid $1,600 a month rent. Apparently the landlord was upset because, you know, we had really cold days and I had the heat on, you know. But he never knew the landlord was going to even act like this, and he didn't tell me anything about that. And then he talked back to the wife and said, look, you know, the heat's on 58 degrees. His landlord tried to say that wasn't true. He's like, it was 70 degrees outside. No, it wasn't. It was freezing out. You can go in the news. I told him, like, he's so full of shit. I said to my roommate, your landlord's he's a prick, he's so full of shit. It was not 70 degrees out. That first time you told me that he was bitching to you and you were home and it was a mistake that it was 70 degrees out, but the heat kicked him because it was colder in here, and if you just opened the windows it would heat up. No, that day the heat was below 60. It's not going to turn on unless it's below 60 in here, and we do not, just because you give heat included doesn't mean you have to fucking freeze to death, okay? And we've had abnormally cold days here in Massachusetts. The news even said it's below average, and it was cold out. And it wasn't sunny, and opening the windows would not have heated up the house. You know what I mean? That you don't have to freeze to death just because it should be warmer outside and isn't. So he's really pissing me off, that landlord, you know. And then so he was upset about that. He's getting $1,600 a month, and he's upset. Bullshit. I said, you know, and legally, I pretty much know that if heat's included, I don't even think they can stop you from turning the heat way up whenever you want to, you know. And I told my roommate, had I stayed, you know, you like the air conditioning on, but I don't, so, you know, so I wouldn't even have had the air conditioning on when I was home, because I don't like air conditioning, you know. So had we stayed, I mean, that would have saved. So I said to him, my roommate, like, you know what, in the end, he doesn't like that I'm here all the time. That you're not, and that I am, and that I'm using electricity and the heat, and probably, it's probably what he doesn't like, but ridiculous. I mean, in the end, none of this is my fault. In my room, you know, I thought this was a sure thing, you know, but how sad, how cruel that he said, you know, I could throw her out right now. Like I'm some horrible, like I did horrible things and threw parties. I don't know what's wrong with him. He's like, did you do a background check on her? And my mom was like, no, I didn't do a background check on her, you know. You weren't even supposed to have a roommate. Yeah, he wasn't supposed to have a roommate. And for months, he couldn't even pay you the full amount of rent. You asshole, you fucking ignorant prick. He couldn't pay you the full amount, and you know, because you let him slide, or he would have had to move out. You know, asshole. What does he think? He knows he couldn't pay the full amount. He's lying and saying that he didn't tell. He said it to me when he introduced himself to me. He came up to me I don't know when, shortly after I lived here, I guess, and he said, I'm so-and-so, and he's like, yeah, he didn't even tell me you had moved in, but I talked to my roommate. He said, I told him I was getting a roommate. Maybe I didn't, you know, he probably didn't tell him exactly, you know. He said he forget. I believe my roommate that he told him, and he forgot, or he didn't bother to, like, go and bring me over there the very first day I moved in and say this is, you know, he probably should have done that, but I don't know. I didn't bother to either. I didn't say to him, should I go into, you know, he told me his landlord was cool as hell, and he knew I was moving in, and, you know. But for him to say you're not even supposed to have a roommate, he had a roommate before, plus he knows firsthand that he can't afford this place, it's too expensive. So, I think his landlord's a friggin' prick. And he's like, well, I really didn't even, you know. He lived here with someone else at first. He's like, well, when that person moved, I didn't even want you to stay, you know. My wife said you could stay. You know, what a jerk. Seriously. I don't know how I'm gonna find a place if this is just terrified. I didn't want this. I wanted to leisurely be able to find a place and not have to, you know. I'm not a happy camper. I am not a happy camper. Not a happy camper. I think I'm gonna fast again today. Fasted on Friday, didn't fast yesterday on Saturday. It's like 1:30 in the morning now. I think I'm gonna fast again today, just why not? Tried to call, I'm still in that same hospital. They didn't have a bed in the other hospital. I tried to call my mom last night and nobody picked up the patient line, you know. I'll call her today. Tell her my lovely news. My roommate already started packing. I know he wants to get the hell out of here. I know it, you know. If he's gonna leave, he wants to leave. He doesn't want to pay. He has a place to go. You know what I mean? He doesn't want to pay half the rent. Because I'm like, okay, so if we stay into the next month, what do we do? Pay half, you know? I'm sorry, it's not my fault. I didn't ask for any of this, you know? So I guess I can take comfort. According to my roommate, it would have happened anyway. He was predicting it. But if he was predicting it, I'm like, why didn't he just tell you to leave then? You know, give you notice and tell you that he wants you to leave. It's like, I don't know. Laura, I really don't know. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know. But he jumped at it when I said that, you know, I said, did you say what happened with Bones and Omar? He's like, it was like a kind of, but not really. It's none of his business. I just said, you know, that you were gonna leave, so I was, you know, that I was gonna leave too. And he's like, I guess he's like, oh, well, good, because I was meaning to call you anyway. Then why didn't you? Then why didn't you? Then why didn't you have the common courtesy to do that, you know? Ridiculous. 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 So that's where it stands. I don't think it wouldn't have, I think it was meant to be. I think it was gonna happen regardless. So it wouldn't have mattered what happened with Bones, and I'm glad he's bringing Bones back because, you know, I didn't want that. I feel safer with Bones here anyway. And my roommate spends a lot of time not here, and I'd rather have Bones here. This is the last thing I wanted, you know, to feel like pressure, like, you know. That's what happened last time when I had to, you know, when now it's happening again. And the landlord knows that it's me that has to find a place, but my roommate stuck up for me when he said you know, technically I could have her. No, you can't, but whatever. He's like, look, you know, he's like, she's my roommate, you know? I didn't do anything wrong. I'm sorry, I highly doubt I'm going to be able to find a place in 2 weeks. I have nowhere to go and needs help, you know? I don't owe him shit, the landlord, you know? I mean, I would like, my roommate's been so good to me, and he doesn't want, I would like to be out of here, and because I know it would make my roommate happy, but, you know, I can't just snap my fingers and make it fucking happen, you know?